On this episode of Defining Wealth Beyond the Numbers, I sat down with Kim Likins, Director of Development for Volunteers in Medicine of Hilton Head Island Clinic, for a conversation about service, leadership, and the power of community. After building a successful career in healthcare and corporate leadership, Kim dedicated herself to serving the Lowcountry through a variety of nonprofit and civic leadership roles, from helping launch organizations such as the Sandbox Children's Museum and the First Tee of the Lowcountry, to leading the Boys and Girls Club of Hilton Head for 14 years. Kim has spent decades creating opportunities and improving lives throughout the community. The conversation explores servant leadership, the importance of giving back, and how individuals can make a lasting impact when they invest in the people and the places around them. I'm sure you'll enjoy this conversation about service, community leadership, and defining wealth beyond the numbers. And please subscribe or like to get all of our episodes. Kim Likins from Volunteers in Medicine. Thanks for being here.
Hi, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. So for me, I enjoy work, right? So every time I do this podcast, my first question is always, what's your first job? What'd you do for your first job?
You know, actually, when I go all the way back, my very first job was babysitting. And it terrifies me to think that I was 12 years old and people allowed me to be in charge of their children. I actually babysat every weekend and a weeknight for a dentist, and he had 3 children that were 4 and under.
Oh, wow.
And
at 12?
At 12, yeah, I know that's the scary
part.
It's a lot
of responsibility.
But the interesting thing is, I think the thing that it taught me the most was responsibility. You know, I mean, I had those kids and they were precious individuals that, needed to be taken care of. But I think it also helped me immediately have a natural love for children. And as I look back at the span of my life and what I've been able to do, so much of it has been around children. And I think it probably came from those early days.
See? The first job, it helps you figure out what you want to do in life or your personality. And then what about from there?
And it's so funny because I've watched a few of your podcasts and I noticed how many women in my age, our first job was a department store. Yeah. And truly, when I turned 16, my first job was in a department store in the shoe department. So I do believe that that's probably another reason why I have such a love for shoes.
Okay, see? Another reason.
Exactly.
I think retail is very important, especially when you're younger, because it really teaches you how to interact with people. And maybe that's why women are much better than men interacting, because they do more of those jobs. But retail is great. Our kids work in retail. They do work at a ice cream shop. And I can see how it's changed a little bit their personality, because now they can interact a little bit better.
Yep. My oldest son's first job was at an ice cream shop. And he was actually a pretty shy kid.
Yeah.
And I think it was wonderful in helping him gain that self-confidence of being able to simply do things like look people in the eye, and talk to them directly.
Which means a lot, by the way.
Absolutely. Those soft skills are so valuable.
And then what about from there?
So in college, I had a great job the summer after my freshman year, and that was working at Disney World.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize until that time that, Disney extends their hours in the summer till like midnight. So they have to go and hire sort of a second shift, and they would go to universities and recruit college kids to come. We thought this would be a blast. So a group of us went. They had wonderful housing for us to live in. And we worked from pretty much 5 o'clock till 1 a.m. And it gave us the day to go to the beach or do whatever we might want to do. And in the evening, of course, we were in the Magic Kingdom, which was amazing. And, Disney is famous for their customer service. Yeah. And I learned so much there, truthfully, about just how to treat people and, keeping a positive attitude. And one of the things that was always so impressive was to anticipate what could go wrong.
Yes, I agree with that.
They would have individuals who had had the greatest day in the world, and then they couldn't find their car. They were so overwhelmed. And of course, they made it so easy by parking in places where goofy, And that was all you had to remember was a character's name and they could find your car. And this, of course, was way before video and everything that makes it easy now. But it was
Now you take a picture.
Exactly. Here you are. You know? But it was just impressive that they were always trying to anticipate anything that could go wrong because they wanted everyone to leave with the greatest experience that they'd ever have, you know, wanting that desire to come back. So that teaches you a lot about, you know, customer relationships.
See, I love that you said that, and I love that you recognize it, because I think when you're dealing with people, just like you said, anticipating what they're going to think or what can go wrong to try and get in front of that, it's a big thing because you want them to leave with that happy experience. So I'm in wealth management. We do the same thing. Where are some of the issues that can come up? And I'm sure you do the same thing now. You're with Volunteers in Medicine. Absolutely. So maybe that's a good segue. Tell me a little bit about what you do there and your job and what Volunteer in Medicine does.
Sure. So, I'm the director of development, and my team is responsible for raising all of the money. We don't accept any federal funding, so we raise it all pretty much within our community, which is amazing because
that's impressive.
As you know,
it's not easy.
It's not easy. There's a lot of competition because there's so many great nonprofits, but we have an incredibly generous community. But I think you're absolutely right about the anticipation, because it has helped me learn to read people. And I think the biggest thing in my job is to understand what someone's passion is and help them fulfill that. And philanthropy is so much about that. You know, most people have established ways that they want to give, donor advised funds or setting up foundations. So they've already made the decision that I want generosity to be a part of my life. The question is just, how do you make a pathway for them to be able to fulfill that?
Yep.
And those of us who are in development, I think that's kind of the thing that we always try to work on doing. And really, it's getting to know an individual and what's in their heart and what makes them want to give.
So there's a saying that I live by. It's better to be interested than interesting. And what that means essentially for me is listening. When you listen to people, you hear, they'll tell you without even knowing what they like and you can work with that, right?
Absolutely.
So that's great. So in your business, that probably is something you have to do all the time.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And listening did not come naturally to me because I'm kind of a talker.
You could do both. From what I know, we've known each other for a little while. You could do both.
Yeah. But it is a skill that I think you have to work on if you don't have it. And I find myself sometimes not even hearing because I'm anticipating the next thing that I'm going to say. And I've really had to pull back, particularly in a position like this, and force myself to, hey, really listen to what this person is saying to you. And I think over time, I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, awesome. From what I know, you do a great job because obviously you've been very successful and you worked with the Boys and Girls Club for a long time. That's where we met each other. I'm on the board there.
Yep.
And I mean, it was impressive how you would run that organization, but you also listened to the board as well, which helped to direct, I guess, what the Boys and Girls Club did.
Absolutely. And, you know, that brings in other important skills like collaboration. I mean, you know, anything, I think, whether it's in a business environment or whether it's in a nonprofit environment, we need to all be able to collaborate. Everyone has their own unique talents and skills.
Absolutely.
You know, I love taking those kind of tests like that show your particular skill.
I love that too. Yeah.
And it's funny, there's one that I'm a tenacious person. So I'm kind of the dog that doesn't let go of the bone, like, let's get it done. And creative people sometimes frustrate me because they think so out of the box and they're way up there. And I just want to pull them back to reality and get something accomplished. But I also realize they're the ones that sometimes give you the greatest idea and the breakthrough moment of, wow, we can do this or we can do it differently.
Yep. Most of what I do or have learned is listening to someone else, what they've done, their ideas, and then just working that towards my personality. Right? So I'm not a creative person. I don't really create, but I can listen to people, watch what they're doing, see what's successful, and then put it towards my personality. So in your job, right? You're in nonprofit now, but you were in the corporate world for a while.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the differences there.
Absolutely. So it's kind of fascinating how I ended up in the corporate position because and I'm going to tell myself here when I say by graduation, but I graduated in the early 80s and technology was relatively new and
Fax machines?
yeah, the big IBM processors. And I went to work for a company that was a healthcare information technology company, and healthcare was really changing in the early 80s. They had never been paid to, be reimbursed so that they did things in a good process. And so our company came along, and that was what we were doing, is we were actually automating healthcare.
Okay, interesting.
And so it was a
Back in those days.
Back in those
Wow.
days. But I have to admit, I have an uncle who was an engineer, and when he heard the job that I'd taken, he said, well, now tell me about this company that you're going to work for. Do they make the hardware or the software? And I looked at him and I said, what's the difference?
What?
Because I literally didn't know. I interviewed for this job and they said it's 90% travel. And I had never really been many places. And I was just all up for the opportunity
Yeah, that's appealing
to
when
go
you're
and
younger.
see the world. But it was an amazing experience. I spent 20 years there going through various areas of the company and learned so much about people and relationships and of course business operations and budgeting and making hard decisions and managing individuals and all of those skills.
Different personalities.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That, ultimately, when I did leave after 20 years of being in the healthcare industry and rolled into nonprofit, I found that so much of that was transferable and needed in the nonprofit world.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what do you think of the big differences? What was the part that was hard for you to adjust to, the difference between a corporate and nonprofit?
Corporate, it was always about the bottom line. I was in executive sales towards the end of my career. And so it was making quotas and, winning trips and all of those kinds of things. When I rolled into the nonprofit world, it was, hey, this copy paper is so valuable. We need to use not just the front of it, but the back of it. Really transferring and understanding that every penny mattered.
Yep.
And everybody had to be willing to do any job, and that's a big change because in the corporate world, you're striving to move up and to attain
And
certain
you have your
things.
position.
Exactly.
And then you move to a different position.
Exactly. And in the nonprofit world, it's all hands on deck, but I think that's what makes it special too, because you're working for a collective goal.
Yeah.
In the nonprofit world, it's not an individual independent goal, it's a collective goal. And most people who are working in the organization clearly have passion for what that organization is doing. And so when you're fueled by that kind of passion, I think it makes it so much easier to be willing to do whatever it takes.
You need a purpose.
Exactly. Oh, and in life, don't we all? That is truly, as I get closer to that golden moment of retirement that we all, try to attain, I think back on so many times that individuals who were retired, that served on boards that I was on, or either on boards that I was serving, would say to me sometimes the hardest job ever is retirement.
Yeah.
And it is pretty scary to think about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the biggest thing is because all of a sudden their purpose is either no longer there or has to shift very greatly.
Quickly.
Yes.
And so with us, when we're talking to clients about retirement, we're in wealth management. So it's important for us, and we get clients that want to retire. Obviously, it's not, they want to talk about the money. And yes, the money's important, but it's also about what's next.
Right.
Your whole working career, which is a long time, you had a purpose. Now, what's your purpose? And in order to figure that out, if you want a happy and healthy retirement, you should try and start to figure out what your purpose would be after retirement.
Right.
That's a big thing.
I think it's a very big thing. I've actually known individuals who have had retirement coaches,
Yeah.
who
Oh.
literally sit down and sort of help them figure out what is it. I mean, the wealth part is already taken care of, or the financial part. Now it's just how are you going to live every day,
Yep.
and have a fulfilled life.
And now you could love golf, right? And want to play golf a lot,
Yeah.
but anything you do that you love, if you're doing it 5-6 days a week, you start to love it a little bit less. So you need to have some other purpose.
Right. And, Volunteers in Medicine, where I'm at now, that's really kind of the whole beginning of how it started. Is Dr. McConnell retired here, and he loved golf, but he didn't love golf enough to play golf every day. And he had spent his whole life serving other individuals. And when he saw the need on the island where there were so many people who had no health care and there were a lot of doctors available, he was like, this is a problem that I could solve. And he then all of a sudden had a whole new purpose, at that point in his life. And he had an amazing career. So if you look at his medical career, it's phenomenal. But now if you look at, our clinic is the first, but there's over 100 clinics across the country that are modeled just like it.
It's impressive.
So think of the impact that he had
and that
in
started
his
here?
retirement here, right
Impressive.
on Hilton Head.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, just because you retire certainly doesn't mean that you can't have a huge impact.
It's a new stage. That's all it is.
Yep, exactly.
So for those who don't necessarily know what Volunteers in Medicine does, can you just explain?
Sure, absolutely. So we provide medical care for basically our underserved neighbors, individuals who don't have access to health care. And it's a broad spectrum. It's not only medical care, but we've full dental, we have mental health, and we have an incredible wellness center.
Has that evolved?
It has evolved, yes. When Dr. McConnell started it, it was really more like an urgent care, So if someone was sick or someone was injured, they came in. Now we have 26 medical specialties. It's unbelievable to stand there in the morning and say, today we have our ophthalmology clinic open, and we have cardiology, and we have orthopedics. I mean, it's any of us, you and I would be, overwhelmed to have that kind of care standing in the room, taking care of you. We have a endocrinologist who takes care of 800 diabetic patients.
Wow.
And he works all day Tuesday, all day Thursday, and half day Fridays. Dr. Sunderland is just my
And I'm assuming because it's Volunteers in Medicine, they're all volunteers.
All volunteers. And many of them started volunteering when they would come to Hilton Head on vacation, way before they had retired, but they were beginning to plant those seeds for that path because they knew that one day that was ultimately where they wanted to be and what they wanted to do. And I said to Dr. Sunderland one day, why are you here so much? And he said, no place I'd rather be.
Yeah, a purpose.
Yep, a purpose.
So you have to work to get donations.
Yes.
And people, but you also have to work to get the volunteers.
Correct.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
How do you do that? How do you manage that?
Well, we have a volunteer coordinator who helps with that recruitment. But I tell you, it's really word of mouth. There's hardly a healthcare provider that shows up in this community that isn't somehow reached out by someone and said, have you heard of Volunteers in Medicine? We have close to 550 volunteers.
Wow.
And which is an enormous amount of individuals who work. But no pressure. I mean, some of our physicians work one day a month, or a half day every other week. So, and then some are dedicated and are there every week, 2 or 3 days. It's really whatever they want.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, this is a podcast about wealth, right? And I always end off with, what is your definition of wealth? So really, what was it when you first started working? Mm-hmm. And what is it now? Has it evolved? Is it the same? Maybe you can help me
I
understand.
have to say it's probably totally different. When I was young, I thought about it for a good while. I don't even know that I understood what wealth was.
I agree.
I truly don't. I think I always knew that I wanted to be independent and be able to have a home and, those kinds of things.
Take care of the family, the whole thing.
Exactly, which is, what my parents were able to do. And that was a huge success in those days because my parents came from I wouldn't say poverty, but not a lot. So for us to have what we had, I guess that was really being wealthy, you know, but we didn't see that as wealth. Now, when I look at wealth, my perspective is so totally different. Wealth to me is one, I mean, health is so important. You know, if you don't have your health, you really, it doesn't matter what you have. And I've seen that in individuals, and it's really heartbreaking. So every day that I can wake up and feel good and healthy, I truly feel blessed. But I think for me, the real definition of wealth is contentment. Just truly, you know, being content with your life. You're not needing to climb any ladder or having anything more or different. You're just really happy at the place that you are.
It's great. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
And of course, family and relationships and purpose, you know, all of those feed into, you know, faith for me, all of those feed into that contentment.
It's amazing how it does go from dollars and cents for most people in the very beginning. And then as you get older, you start to realize that's important, but there's more. And then you start to understand more of what your wealth is. So that's why I like asking that question, because most people say what you said. I didn't really think about it until I knew I was going to be on this podcast and I had to answer that question. So, but thank you for being here. It was great. I'll see you around the community and you do a great job. Thank you.
Thanks.